I see your mouse moving, and I think it's mine.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, maybe that's me. Is that on the screen? No, it's not me, right?
No, this one's mine. I was checking to see how many of our friends have joined us already. So good morning, everyone who has already logged in. Thank you for joining us this morning. We're going to give our friends a few more seconds to join and then we'll get started. So thank you so much for joining us. We'll get started shortly.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Definitely coffee.
Coffee.
Not to promote another company's products, but it's an Ember cup. It's the best thing ever invented. It keeps my coffee the perfect temperature.
Another cup technology. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
You control it on my phone. It's great.
Oh, you control it on the phone.
I do, yes. It's got like its own little app. You can choose your perfect temperature. You can change the color of the little light sensor on your mug. And then when the perfect temperature has been reached, it sends me a little alert so I know it's time that I can drink my coffee. It's great.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's it's good, but very fancy too.
It is. Now you know what to ask for your birthday. An Ember mug.
Ember mug.
Mhm. Let's see how we're doing. It's coming along, coming along. I didn't think about having a webinar the week of daylight savings time. Hopefully everyone's adjusting faster than I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not adjusted yet. I'll say that. Yeah.
We'll give everybody just one more minute and then we'll get started. Okay, all right. So good morning, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us at our Connectivity 101, Achieving Simplified, Straightforward Connectivity for Your Solutions webinar. So as you see, I'm here with Curtis and Anthony, and I'll tell you a bit more about them in just a moment. But I want to flip to our next slide because we're going to do something special today. And we're doing an interactive webinar. So there is going to be some questions that are asked throughout this presentation. It's a little bit more involved than a traditional just Zoom poll question. So I would encourage you to grab your phone and you can scan the QR code, which is right here. And I'm going to put it in the chat as well for you all. And then as these questions come up, it will give you an opportunity to interact. You can copy it from your computer. You can do it on your phone. And I think it'll make the webinar even more fun. So it'll be a series of questions and word clouds and puzzles and all sorts of fun stuff. And if you would like to show me that you do in fact know how to do it, you can hit one of the emojis on your screen right now once you've logged in. Good job. All right, good. So we'll get going here. Oh, good, perfect. Well, and I hope you all will enjoy this. I've used it a couple of times and I think it's a lot of fun. Makes the webinars a little bit more exciting than just slides and chatting. So hope you all enjoy it. All right, so let's learn a little bit about Curtis and Anthony. Curtis serves as the floLIVE president for North America. He's an accomplished leader with 25 plus years of broad experience and expertise in technology leadership, business development, and sales. He was most recently the general manager, global vice president, dealer, and heavy equipment for Uptake, an industry leader in artificial intelligence and IoT. Prior to joining Uptake, Curtis spent almost 12 years with Cisco Jasper, where he held several roles, with the most recent being head of global business development and regional managing director, Canada. So thank you for joining us, Curtis. And then we have Anthony from Velocity IoT. He's a seasoned professional with over 25 years of experience in IoT, network, and wireless technologies. With a strong entrepreneurial spirit, he's successfully founded multiple tech companies, demonstrating innovation and problem-solving skills. His career spans from early roles in IT management to founding startups and collaborating with diverse organizations. Anthony is known for his visionary thinking, staying ahead of industry trends, sharing insights as a speaker at conferences. He's a driven and creative leader, continues to shape the landscape of IoT and product development. He currently serves as the principal of Velocity. So thank you, Anthony, for joining us as well.
Thank you for having me.
So I'm going to hide the QR code for now, and we'll pop it back up later when the first question comes in. So Curtis, if you'd like to kick us off.
Sure, I will. Good morning to all. Anthony, it's good to be with you today. A longtime colleagues and now partners here at floLIVE and Velocity. So good to be with you. I think when we look at Connectivity 101, it's really something that collectively we both wake up, every day, go to sleep thinking about how do we make things simple? How do we help customers get to market and service their end customers as best as possible. So this is really the fundamental thing that I think connects the two companies here. So great to have the conversation today. I think probably the conversation is one that we've had dozens of times, either with our customers individually or collectively between each other. So looking forward to the conversation today. A little bit about floLIVE as we kick off. floLIVE is a UK-based IoT software as a service company. We have a cloud-native suite of IoT services that we offer. And I want to say that they're all designed, developed, managed, and now deployed by floLIVE engineers. This is 100% floLIVE technology that we'll talk about today and refer to. And when you look at this particular slide, one of the key things when we started the company was we did a survey. Our founders did surveys of customers in the IoT space based on their knowledge of managing operations for operator carriers throughout Europe and South and Africa there. And they looked at see what do customers really need. And the two top needs that customers had is that we need global coverage and we need consistently reliable coverage. So what we've done at floLIVE, we've translated these needs into what we call our hyperlocal global connectivity. This is a service where we deeply integrate a floLIVE distributed core network with over 12 MNOs around the world so that we can provide that consistent global coverage that's highly reliable. The key thing I want to point out here is that it's not only connecting to the MNOs, but it's doing so in a distributed core networks that are placed around the world. There's literally no other company in the world that's providing the coverage in this way and that's proactively going out, building a globally distributed core network so you can have as an end customer providing services, all of the value add that comes along with that, and some of those things that we'll talk about later. The other thing I'll note is that you see up in the right where you see the satellite in the sky. This service will soon extend to the Release 17 NB-IoT over satellite service here. So you're really talking about true global coverage where the gaps in the coverage will be filled by the satellite service as well. If you go to the next slide, Elisa. So in addition to global connectivity, and I won't go into all of the details on this because there's a lot of meat in this piece here. But in addition to global connectivity, we have under one platform, we have a suite of services that meet the needs of mobile network operators, IoT service providers, enterprises, and OEMs. And all of these services are built on microservices. They're all cloud native solutions there. So from a customer perspective, you can consume them in exactly the same way with that one platform. And then everything can be white labeled. When you look at our connectivity management platform, it can be fully white labeled down to 4 levels of hierarchy for us there. And then, of course, we have many of our customers that are not just using the services, either the core network or the CMP directly with our user interface, but they're using it via API connecting into their backend system so they can further optimize and automate what they're doing, providing that information to their end customers. And then the solutions are backed by really what I think is the absolute world-class back-end support team that they're literally phenomenal. They have access to core network infrastructure there. They can not only just answer simple questions, literally our service, I always like to say our support service really starts with tier 3 service there. So this is a summary of what we have from a floLIVE perspective there. A lot of detail here. And of course, if anything you see here that's of interest to you, you want to reach out to us, we're happy to talk to some of the details of what we have for floLIVE.
Great, Curtis. And this is where I take over, I guess, right?
Yeah.
So a little bit about Velocity IoT and how we fit into this ecosystem. So obviously through a strategic partnership with floLIVE, we offer cellular connectivity. But we take a different approach to this. We take a white glove approach. The success of your product really depends on your partners and how you have everything integrated. So we strive to make sure that your integration and how you're developing your product has a future mindset in place, growth, stability of your network. We look at from hardware, firmware implementation, that you're taking the right steps to success, because without your products succeeding, we don't have a business, right? So we look at ourselves as a valued partner to several entities in this industry. We have key strategic partnerships with distributors, developers, manufacturers, all alike. And what we do is we look at your integration process and what you're doing, and how to empower you and really give you the keys to winning in your environment. Next slide. So as I mentioned before, we'll take a deep look into your hardware, how you have it developed, how you have it integrated, what timing and other aspects that you might need in order to make sure that all your connections, whenever you turn on, are successful connections. We look at your deployment strategy, your testing, your validation, and all the other aspects to releasing a product. Many of us have been working in this industry for a long time. We focus on the product itself and how it's engineered for your success. And then, of course, growth, right, for support. So as Curtis had mentioned, their support level and their capabilities and their visibility into the network start at a much higher level. And what happens is sometimes the customers who are starting their product cycle, doing their development, maybe even for the first time, they don't have the ability to really articulate what's needed sometimes to support of such a high level. And that's where we come in. We help complement that. We're typically the first line of support for all our customers, even before it gets into a floLIVE discussion. We're analyzing all the data, and we're setting it up for where we can help. And then of course, we also simplify this whole process. We work with a strategic partner, DigiKey, and all these SIMs and all this product is available to order overnight, anywhere globally, basically. And you can start testing immediately with this product.
All right, thank you. Okay, so first interactive question here. I'll show the QR code again, so you can scan it if you need to, or click the link in the chat. And I'm going to open up the question. So we'd like to hear, what types of connectivity technology are you interested in? And this is a free flow text box. So you can add your thoughts. They'll appear here on the screen. And then Curtis and Anthony will be able to add some thoughts around your submission and hopefully guide this conversation to make it really valuable for what you want to hear about. So, and I did test this with my children earlier, so, they can cover all topics from, flying cars all the way to, our actual topic of conversation. All right, no pressure, but you've got 25 seconds. Oh, there we go. Good. Okay. So you all are building a word cloud here. So as more people submit similar information, your phrases will get bigger. So we'll see what we want to talk about today. Oh, okay. Here we go. So Curtis, Anthony, looks like NB-IoT was the top winner here.
Oh, interesting. Wow. Yeah, NB-IoT is a very interesting one. Obviously, the technology has been around a while. We've seen across the world different perspectives on which of the low power solutions to go out with. In North America, I think there are a couple of implementations here in the US. In Canada is one carrier that has NB-IoT. In Europe, it's a lot more NB-IoT. I think it started in France, where they had the first national network there, but more coverage from that perspective. It also makes it is very interesting from a how do you provide the solution with what we would say a global coverage for perspective. And the typical way that we would go to market with global coverage is, we do 3 layers. One is we have global relationships. There's some MNOs that they focus on global connectivity, so they have great rolling relationships, and we can integrate with them our core network infrastructure and use that global footprint. When we look at that solution, the key is that none of those solutions, or rarely do those solutions, initially include NB-IoT coverage. So we end up with challenges there from coverage, and we need to do local there, or we need to go back to our MNO partners and ask them to expand that coverage footprint. So it's interesting because we have not seen a lot of devices using NB-IoT. I know here in North America, we've heard that the carriers have very few NB-IoT deployments there. But on the other hand, you look at what's happening with the Release 17 solution with satellite, and that is NB-IoT over satellite. So what I think we're seeing is a trend the other way for NB-IoT, where we'll see more and more devices supporting it, particularly those devices that need the satellite coverage footprint there. And the lower cost of the modules, the battery saving components there are all key for this. And I think it'll be an interesting next 12 months, 18 months to see if this trend changes because of the availability of satellite.
Yeah, just to add, and I definitely agree with those points. The NB-IoT market, right, and where it's available is limited. There are places even in South America where they've tried to do larger deployments because of the functionality of NB-IoT, you get longer distances, right? So you need less towers, but it hasn't really taken off globally. In Asia, there is a huge NB-IoT deployment. That's probably one of the most sophisticated and available that you would have. But it is still growing, and it is still a 4G technology, so there is a good amount of longevity to it. I'm definitely curious to understand and see the market change as the 5G technologies for low power come into play. With RedCap being the first one towards the end of this year, I think we'll see the initial releases of that. The real future for RedCap is probably 2027. So we have quite a bit of time before we get to a place where NB-IoT becomes potentially irrelevant. But still, from the standpoint of deployment and where it's available, NB-IoT does suffer from lack of availability globally. So you have to make sure that when you're doing a design for hardware, that you have the failovers in place for NB-IoT, whether it be 2G or Cat-M, whatever, wherever you're planning on going, you'll have to make sure that you plan accordingly.
Yeah, I
That
think
makes
I think
sense.
that's one of the top things that we have to communicate to customers is just when they're designing a device, of course, they look at the benefits of NB-IoT, but then we have to connect them with the realities of where that service is actually available. And to your point, now they end up with, okay, if I made a decision to do an NB-IoT only module based on availability of coverage, they need to make another choice and add a secondary brand to support.
That's great. Thank you, guys. All right, so were there any surprises here for this?
Yeah, no surprise. I think there's a general trend here toward what do you call it, low power in general.
Right.
From the messaging here. And yeah, that's this is exactly what we see the trend here. I think it's interesting, and I know we're covering this a little bit, but I see Cat 1 bis is in there. That's low power conversation. You have LP WAN, if I can read it correctly, is um, 5G in as well. This one is an interesting one because obviously there's a lot of talk in the industry about 5G. I will say from an IoT perspective, we really haven't seen that massive need for IoT for 5G. And I think particularly because what you really need for the biggest promise of IoT, for the massive IoT for 5G, you really need to have 5G standalone networks there to take advantage of all of the features and functionality that come along with that. eSIM
Yeah.
is a, oh, sorry, Anthony.
No, agreed. I mean, the 5G infrastructure right now, and even the cost of the modules, right? To support this right now it doesn't fit into the IoT ecosystem yet. The size of the modules, right? When you're talking about a sensor device or even the portable wearable, potentially, it doesn't hit that yet. The release 18 version of 5G for the IoT space will show potentially much more power savings, and it goes in that direction where it becomes more relevant into the LP WAN landscape. But I think it's still a bit too early to to really focus on that as your next generation product.
Yeah.
All right,
I
I'm
think-
going to move us. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm just keeping an eye on the clock. So I'm going to move us to the next slide. And Curtis, you tell us a little bit more about some of the other options that are available in the connectivity ecosystem.
Yeah, this chaos topic at the top here, like it becomes really obvious when you look at all of the options that are available. We just finished the LP WAN conversation on what we see as the primary solutions. But when you look at other radio access types, you've got Sigfox and LoRa and Zigbee and BLE and Wi-Fi. All of these are coming into play from a RAN perspective there. And then, as I mentioned, we've got new things that are coming. So you have new regulatory requirements here, new standard requirements there, SGP 31, 32. What does that mean to you from a SIM perspective? Am I using EUICC with a multi-profile? Do we use the technology that we really support as a standard multi-IMSI? Do you use that in combination with EUICC? There, if you're doing low power, what low power solution are you using? Are you using the current standard that I would say, or the current deployments of CAT-M and NB? Or are you looking forward to Cat 1 bis and 5G RedCap, as Anthony mentioned? And so there are a lot of decisions that are required to be made here. And then it becomes like, how do you make those decisions? How do you, as a company looking to deploy a solution, enhance a solution? One of the key things that we're seeing across the industry now is in our traditional market. And I think for everyone that's in IoT, asset tracking is like the #1 market. Whether you look at asset for fleet or you just look at asset for things like shipping containers there, this is the big market. And the #1 thing in that market has been battery savings. So you see a lot of decisions here with new technology, older technology, what's really available out in the market there from a Cat 1 bis, from an Cat 1M, NB-IoT, and RedCap. A lot of conversations go around that. So one of the key things that our partners here at Velocity do a really outstanding job is helping customers filter through all of the available things and narrowing down on what are your key requirements. And when are those requirements need to be delivered to the field? What's the longevity of that in the field there? And it really is what they do to help people get down the path in a smooth fashion there. So yeah, there's a lot of things to consider here from a technology perspective, from a standard perspective, a SIM perspective there. And this is one of the key things that our friends at Velocity help people with.
That's good. That's good. So Anthony, I know you're going to share some thoughts with us, but before we get into that, let's jump to our next question and let's share what IoT use cases are you involved in or interested in? And then Anthony will be able to share some thoughts with us around those use cases and which connectivity types are best matches there. And a strong desire to give you the countdown like they do at the gym. They shout it at you. Well, good. Okay.
Okay.
5 seconds. Finishing it up. Oh, hope we got everybody. All right, you got a good broad.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. So do you read through these and I can switch to the next slide and you can integrate these thoughts into your use cases. Does that sound good?
Yeah. Take a
All
screen
right.
grab really quick so I have it in my head.
Yep. Tell me when you're ready.
Go for it.
Okay. All right. Thank you all.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely from the topics of implementation and markets, right? I used to be at uBlocks for over 10 years from a module standpoint and doing all these different hardware integrations for all these markets that we've been talking about here, right? The utility monitoring, mobile POS, healthcare, telematics, trackers, dash cams. And then, you know, the eSIM or iSIM on the ring is pretty interesting, but it's technology's not there yet to get it that small. But looking at the different technologies that we've talked about several times already and how they implement within these different markets, from utility meters, which is, heavily dominated by NB-IoT Cat-M currently. Also LoRaWAN is a big part of that. And of course, Wi-Fi, where they try to use the local infrastructure, the local smart homes or et cetera, to bring that technology through. So, when we start talking about telematics and trackers and these industries, dashcam is a big one, right? That ended up, I think, being the top choice here since it was in the middle. There's a blend of the different types of dashcams that are out there right now. A lot of them are using Cat 1. Cat 1 Biz is probably going to be the natural replacement for those units in the field for dash cams. It also fits naturally for telematics. 4G technology is fairly ubiquitous. So if you do need higher bandwidth within the industry, the way to go is 4G Cat 1 right now, right? Without covering the cost of a 5G infrastructure where you need, or even even Cat 4 4G, where the modems and everything cost a bit more. In the IoT space, for telematics, you'll see that Cat 1 Biz will definitely be the dominant technology. Trackers will look to NB-IoT and potentially and Cat-M. Because again, 4G technology is the most ubiquitous right now. It's available in every region globally, where if you're looking at NB-IoT, you limit. So yes, you can start off with an NB-IoT implementation within telematics or trackers. However, you will find yourself being more on Cat-M or even Cat-1 rather than NB-IoT. Healthcare implementations, again, depending on what you're trying to do or how you've integrated your technology, how much data you need to pass. Again, you would look at these different technologies to see where or how you fit in. This is where we can come in and help you decide when you need to be on a local network and when you need to switch over to one of these other connectivity technologies. The super exciting piece is satellite end-to-end. And really, that's going to be an interesting focus for sensors in the future. I see it more for trackers where you're doing, asset tracking that goes overseas. You don't know where you're going to wake up at the end of the day, and you need the ability to access and send your packets back to the your servers. So satellite NTN, once it becomes much more globally ubiquitous, meaning it needs to be turned on in certain areas. Right now, I think the initial areas that we're going to see, especially with the Skylo integration, right, with floLIVE, is going to be North America and Europe, right, are the two key areas. And we have a lot of customers that are already doing asset tracking in these spaces. So it's definitely a good fit. And then LoRaWAN, which is it's been holding in there for the longest time, right? These Sigfox, LoRaWAN, it's definitely easily deployed. However, you still have to deploy the infrastructure yourself, and at the end of the day, you're backhauling on a 4G or Cat-1 cellular network. So you need to think about what the longevity is for what you're planning on deploying. And then I see there was another one that came up, which is the in-vehicle aftermarket UBI, so user-based insurance and usage-based insurance, right? Where it's been a driving technology that's really integrated M2M into everyone's mindsets, right? Who have been around in this industry a long time. It's always been telematics, but when usage-based the insurance devices came out, that really catapulted the telematics industry and IoT in general, right? And a lot of that product is multiple. It's NB-IoT / CAD-M. It is definitely something that is driving that and has driven that market for a very long time. And I don't expect it to change anytime soon with the amount of devices that have been deployed. So I think we basically pretty much covered everything in the list here.
Curtis, do you see any that you think are really going to make an impact that we may not be anticipating?
Yeah, look, I'll say to Anthony's point, the satellite release 17 NB-IoT over satellite. This is the one that's most intriguing. But I'll say I'm cautiously optimistic there because I tell you, we almost don't have a call that's a asset category where this doesn't come into question, right? Where customers aren't asking for it. And this has been the case now for most of 2023 and going into 2024. So there's a lot of interest here. The struggle I think that everyone has is that you see the candy, but you see the candy inside the candy store, but the store doesn't open for a few hours, so you got to wait. That's really where we are. Like I think the modules, the devices, the actual network infrastructure, those all need to be developed. But there's clear interest and demand from the ecosystem here. So I think it's one that will be counter to what we've seen for new technology adoption. CAD-M and NB-IoT have been around for almost a decade now, if not longer. And we're just starting to see larger deployments and actual implementation of the key features and functionality like EDRX and PSM. So we're starting to see that. And by the way, we're starting to see some challenges there. So I think what will happen with satellite is that it's going to have a faster adoption rate because it has such high demand for the different applications. I mean, this one is a perfect example. You've got shipping containers that there are regulatory requirements to know where those containers are anytime in the world, and there are huge benefits to knowing that, right? Well, you see fraud, you see very sensitive information that's getting transported or temperature sensitive things. So having that information in real time, there's a lot of value add to that. So I think this is one of the key areas that we'll be watching on, that we're focused on, and we're watching and pushing and working with our partners to accelerate that market as well.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. Next up, so we're going to shift our focus a little bit. We have a more traditional focused poll question here. So you see your options here below. Let me open it so you can actually vote. There you are. So what SIM technologies are you interested in? No love for iSIM. Give it just a second more.
There you go. You see now.
No, I made everybody feel bad. I'm sorry about that. I didn't mean to influence our results here.
Yeah.
Okay. Is this what you expected?
Exactly.
Pretty much.
Yeah. All right, let's dig in and see a little bit more about this.
Yeah. Yeah. So this brings up another key customer need, and this is something that's grown. Obviously, when we first started, plastic was table stakes. You absolutely had to support plastic. one of the things, kind of a micro piece of the plastic thing is like, okay, but I want to have all the technologies in one SIM. Like one of the things that we're able to provide on the floLIVE side, because we actually own and manage the HLR HSS, we control all the services there. So we literally can have every technology supported on a single SIM. So plastic was like, table stakes. You absolutely have to have it, to start off with. The poll result shows exactly what we're seeing in terms of trends in the market. Now you're starting to see applications that are saying, look, the plastic component is a costly piece. It's a high failure piece. So we need to have more robustness. We need to lower the cost of the SIM component itself and reduce the risk associated with, having to put in a SIM holder and then having a plastic SIM that gets shipped and then I have to install it there. So from a process perspective, it adds. So literally the number one growth area that I see from a SIM perspective is with embedded SIMs. We see now where we used to see a few customers wanting a few demos, like now it's like every other customer is using an embedded SIM. So we're starting to go to the MFF2 format, and by the way, there are other formats that are even smaller that have the same basic technology that we're seeing in this space. So it allows people to put the SIM in at the point of manufacture and then not have to worry about it as a part of their process there. They don't have a SIM holder, reduce failure rates, a lot of great benefits here. I will say there's an interesting part that we saw in this case is that if I'm putting an embedded SIM in at the point of manufacture, where's that SIM going and what do I need to put on that SIM? With our multi-IMSI technology here, we typically put in enough IMSIs. We can support up to 10, but we put in 1 to 2 IMSIs so that first connection is 100% guaranteed wherever they are in the world. There are multiple networks that have access that the device can access. And then once it's connected, we have the ability to OTA over the air update the SIM with our multi-IMSI OTA system in the background. So this is kind of the key area where we're seeing demand coming in for embedded SIM now. And then the next two are where we get probably the most questions. We did an integrated SIM solution with Sony Altair a couple of years ago now. And that one is really key. Now you look at, I want to put the SIM not as a separate piece, but I want to put it into the module, into the chipset of the device. So it's all in one piece there. So now even from a manufacturing perspective, it becomes an even smoother process because it's manufactured into the device, into the module. There's some complexities that we get there in terms of the logistics of us getting the SIM information over to the manufacturer and the manufacturer handling it. Like you basically have now taken the SIM manufacturer and put them into the device manufacturer facility. And so there's some logistics there that we need to work out, some security pieces there. But this is like, yes, it's the way people are seeing even additional savings come into play here. And so we have new requests that are coming for the integrated SIM. And then the soft SIM as well. This is like, okay, let's eliminate the form factor as well. There's a trusted encryption environment that's a part of a device where we can put a soft SIM in, fully software, no hardware. It's in a secure environment within the device. There's some security concerns there. We've met those concerns. We make sure that our partners are aware and that are compliant with the security requirements that we need to secure the SIM components here. But this is also one area where we have some very large customers that now are saying, now we get an additional savings, we get additional operational efficiency by putting this in. And again, the key thing for the soft SIM, as well as the embedded and integrated, and even our plastic SIM, is the ability to do OTA updates. So bootstrap it with the most likely to use IMSI profile that has the broadest coverage range, but then have that ability to do an OTA update as well. So that's supported across all of our portfolio of SIMs, but it's particularly important when you get to integrated, embedded, and soft SIM.
So yeah, choosing all these different technologies, is definitely dependent on how you plan on doing your connectivity deployment, right? The multi-IMSI technology that's available on the SIMs currently, and this is how we work with our customers, defining what their mobile operator landscape looks like, where they need to deploy, what IMSIs would fit best in their deployment strategy. And then, how does this give them longevity? Is, as Curtis mentioned, OTA and the ability to OTA these different IMSI profiles into currently deployed product helps increase the longevity of where your product is deployed. For example, Brazil, Turkey, right? Australia, these are all locations where permanent roaming is not allowed. You need to have an IMSI strategy, especially going into that, where you have your IMSIs for those locations if you're doing that deployment, and when it leaves, you have a different IMSI that works for the where you go into your next environment. EU ICC compliance, which is important as well, and this is again something that floLIVE provides for us, is multi-IMSI EU ICC compliant technology. Allows the profile to be loaded into a slot of the module as well, and then really, that's what you're looking at in that last image there, where you have the different EU ICC profiles, and then the floLIVE EU ICC profile with all the mobile operators there. So the future is here now. The carrier integrations and the ability for you to integrate these into the modules themselves, the hardware, as Curtis had mentioned, iSIM, the integrated SIM, is ideal. Many of the hardware that you see nowadays actually has that technology available to it. It's just a matter of getting the hardware module vendors to agree on the integrations. Then it potentially becomes another SKU that they have, where that iSIM is integrated and available, so you can order it from the Tellits, the U-Blocks, the QuickTels out there with that EUICC compliance SIM in place. So reduce the cost of having to get a SIM holder, traces on a board space, right? You start now reducing the structure of everything. So the choice, as we say, the choice matters, right? These decisions make a difference, not just for today, but the longevity of your product in the future.
Okay, great. Thank you, guys. This is such good information. Okay, we have our next. So why does bespoke connectivity matter to your company? So bespoke being something customizable, not right out of the box. Oh, which I didn't unlock the submission, so gave you an extra second to think about it. Sorry about that. Like when the teacher gives you an extra 5 seconds on the test. Down to the wire on this one. Feel like somebody was still typing. I'll open it for just another second. If you want to, whoever was finishing, this is your grace period. There you go. Okay. I'll shut it down. All right. Thank you. Well, maybe I'll shut it. There we go. Oh. Okay, here we go. All right, what do you think? Any surprises?
Yes.
Yeah, no, this is pretty straightforward.
I think this.
Go ahead, Curtis.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say a lot of the conversations we have are exactly what's captured here. The future-proof one, I think, is one that it kind of spikes with interest there, depending on the market you're in. But I know over the last 5 years here in North America, future-proof has really become important when people look at network technology that's sunset. Like you may note that we didn't mention earlier 2G or 3G. We still see a lot of global 2G and 3G.
Yeah.
There's still some pockets in the US, not with the major carriers officially, but some of the major carriers even still have some 2G, 3G. But
Okay, we'll talk about that though.
people do talk about it and say, look, I is 4G around? How long is it going to be around? I hear 5G. I already hear about 6G. So do I need to be prepared for that? How am I going to get prepared for that? So that SIM technology is a really key piece of it. The fact that you can OTA, the fact that you can have multiple MZ profiles. And just to be clear, so everyone knows, when we say an MZ profile, that's like an access to either one network operator or multiple network operators. So when you have multiple ones, you get redundancy built in there, which also ties into the item that's in the middle where you have unpredictable outages and backup needed there. This is one of the key things. It surges. Look, the reality is eventually every operator in the world will have an outage. When we look at IoT, it becomes more and more critical because you have very critical assets and like, hey, if I don't monitor, we have one customer, if they miss a monitoring window of 15 minutes, that's a critical issue for them. So to have an outage on a network that's an hour, they want a solution that can back up and move and get the highest availability possible. So we see that coming into play quite a bit with applications that are in that critical nature there.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it happen recently, right? And in the past 2 weeks, there was a major outage that occurred. I think it was maybe 3 weeks ago at this point. But in the United States, there was a third of the country was out, no connectivity. Now, if you had a single SIM environment, single IMSI, right, single carrier setup, your business is down. With the technology that's integrated here and how we make it available, with our strategy and what you're looking for is that autonomous redundancy that you don't even have to think about, right? The network goes down, all of a sudden, you don't have access to that anymore. How do you get your devices back up? There are competitive product out there that, yes, you can switch to another IMSI, but if you don't have the ability to get to the device, how are you going to switch to another IMSI, right? So the technology and what you look at, with future proofing, with outages or backing up, even to offer international roaming, right? You want to wake up in any environment and start working. The only way that you can do that is with these types of platforms where you've designed and integrated this to pivot on any technology that you need to get to from where you deploy.
Good point.
Yeah, I see the one here on the international roaming. This is a very interesting one. Last year we had a growth in this segment. I think one that's maybe resurgent after COVID,
Mhm.
but this is an area where we see a lot of growth for travel data there. So yeah, this is definitely an area that we collectively support for people that are roaming in and out of different countries. I know Anthony was recently on vacation
Mhm.
and nice videos of him testing service around the world.
Yep.
And that's an interesting part. I'll tell you the key thing that's supported in the technology that we have is not only eSIM or I should say EUICC for IoT. We also support the consumer EUICC, which is a key piece that we offer for the travel solutions like you're looking at there.
Mhm.
Great. We've got about 5 minutes left. We're coming in for the home stretch here.
Okay. Yeah, I can run through this pretty quickly. So definitely, I think the more you listen to Curtis and I speak, the more you understand why we feel our combinations, a very good one. And to these slides, what we're talking about here and why Velocity really chose floLIVE to be one of these key partners is the localized infrastructure, performance, the ability to when you're talking about their deployments, they do localized packet gateways, which is tremendous to helping one, regulatory compliance for privacy and data transmission, two, for latency and throughput. Having these localized environments helps increase it instead of using a roaming sim where you would have to connect into the localized environment that might be miles countries away. This really is simplified, right? Device focused, right? SIM and core network are really tuned for specific applications. We can do network steering. We have the ability to manage assigned DNS. There's so much capabilities that we can do with the device focused in mind of the network, right? Obviously, AI is definitely a mindset on everyone's lips. We saw a lot of this stuff at Mobile World Congress in Barcelona. But everything in this environment is cloud-based. There's microservices. It's really scalable. And the analytics and the data that we can pull so we can create analytics is amazing, right? Because actually it is in real time. We get a lot of this data and implement it in our platform as well, where we can take that data, analyze it. We've created heat maps. We've created connectivity maps where we can utilize this information and share it with our customer base. And then, of course, the transparency. It is, the ability to go onto the platform and pull the data that you need to understand how your device is operating. Is it connecting? Is it passing the correct amount of data that you're expecting? We work to set up traces with floLIVE all the time for customers in the early phases when they're creating the product, so they understand their product's behavior on the network. And what we do is we help do this to create efficiency in that network communication, making a better product for our customer base. So yeah, I mean, the visibility, the resilience of this network is definitely one major aspect of why we work with floLIVE.
Yeah, so maybe I'll turn the other side here, other side of the coin. Bill Work is our SVP of sales for floLIVE. Bill and I have known each other for almost 20 years now. And when Bill came to me, it's like, what early days, like we started in 2020, right? What kind of partners are we looking for in the ecosystem? We know what we have. Who are the people in the ecosystem that have the complementary skill sets, focus on customers that we can go after? And when we found out that Anthony, whom we've both known for over a decade, and Bill Molesworth, who's his co-founder, that we've also known for a long time in the industry, they were putting together Velocity, and like, yeah, this is really a perfect fit. It complements everything that we do. What do they need? They need global coverage. Okay, we have that. They need the visibility. They need the single SKU for their customers there. That we have it. But the other piece here that I'll highlight is just the white glove treatment. We mentioned earlier, like the chaos, the different decisions that need to be made, understanding the industry, the ecosystem, the modules, the devices, the networks, how to go from manufacturing to the field, how to support customers in the field efficiently, how to prepare for that. We needed a partner that had not only just the desire to do all of these things, but actually the experience. And when Anthony and Bill came along, it's like, man, this is a great fit. This is going to be phenomenal. They absolutely complement everything that we do. And then along the way, they added the fabulous Natasha, who's in the background, probably listening today. That is like the internal engine for them that does all of the background work for them. So when you look at the decision point up front, Anthony mentioned that he's from uBlocks in the past. Like that early decision on device, that's the type of experience that our friends at Velocity have that can help you make the right decision. What technology? Where do you need to deploy? Like they go through all of these details with the customers from the beginning of a project to make that right decision at the beginning. Anyone who's been in engineering, you know the decisions you make at the beginning are the most critical because they're the ones that if you make a bad one at the beginning, like it's so hard as you get toward the middle, toward the end to recover from that. So
You
they're
gotta
helping.
live with it.
Yeah,
You
gotta
gotta
live with
live
it,
with it.
work around it, right?
Yeah.
So they're helping people make good decisions, the absolute best decisions. Oh, obviously, nothing's ever going to be perfect, but the absolute best decisions at the early stage of the project, and then helping them plan through the go-to-market strategy, right? What do we need to do when we get a device? We develop a device, even down to what AT command sets do you need to run? And then the other thing that they've done a tremendous job for us is understanding our technology along with all of the experience that they have with empirical, right? This isn't like they've heard about it, thought about it, like they've been through the experience of this full development cycle and go-to-market strategy. So they have that expertise and knowledge to give to customers along the way. And I'll tell you, like we've seen this with multiple customers now, like every step of the way, they're able to enhance the customer experience, getting back to the original topic here of connectivity 101. Like one of the key things for us collectively is making connectivity 101 the only course required, right? We're the ones that are doing all of the full load of coursework to get our graduate degrees there. Like that's our job. So we make it simple for customers collectively to just know the 101 piece because we're going to help you with all of the other pieces there. So this piece, as I said, we're extremely happy with the relationship that we have with Velocity, and I'll say it really is the way that everyone should be thinking about how do you complementary support customers with what we bring to the table, right? So all of the skill sets that they have, I think is tremendous for customers to go to market and go to market simply, right?
That's so great. Thank you all. We've run a little bit over time. I'm sorry to say. So I'm going to leave this last slide with you. If you have a burning question that did not get answered because we ran out of time today, you can drop it in the chat or you can hit your poll question here and we will reach out to you directly. If you want to talk to Curtis, if you want to talk to Anthony, give a shout here and we'll reach out and answer any questions you may have. But thank you so much again for your time today. Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, Curtis, for making the time, sharing your expertise with us. And we'll see you next time. Have a great week, everyone.
Pleasure.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Anthony. Thanks, Elisa.
Thanks, Curtis.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, Elisa.